Finally, the journey is complete. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Fieldy's Flicks for the final installment of the Godfather trilogy. Yes, it is the Godfather Part III. I'm going to get into it and talk my thoughts and some of the plot points and how this trilogy really wraps up. So let's get into it. The Godfather Part III was directed yet again by Francis Ford Coppola as it came out in 1990 as it stars Al Pacino, Diane Keaton, Talia Shire, Yo Adrian. There were a few new character introductions in this one, as most notably Andy Garcia plays Sonny's bastard son Vinny, and his relationship with Michael is really important in this one, as he kind of is almost groomed into the family business, even though he's kind of an outsider and really wants to be a part of the Corleone family business. And then Sofia Coppola, the daughter of Francis Ford Coppola, the director, plays Mary, Michael's daughter, and that relationship is also pivotal, and her connection with Vinny as well also has a great deal to play in with all three characters, not just Vinny and Mary's relationship, but Vinny, Mary, and Michael, as they're probably the three most important characters, as they all are really important to the overall plot of the story. So let's start off with the things that I liked in this movie. I'm not going to go too far into any spoiler material because, to be honest, not many people have seen this movie compared to the first two. I think the first two are much more iconic and have that classic factor, where this one is not seen as much. It is kind of the one that's not talked about by many people. I think the number one bright spot really has to be Al Pacino's portrayal of Michael. He, yet again, knocks it out of the park with this role, and I think it's amazing that he did not win an Oscar for any of these films. He is absolutely incredible in this role, and I think the thing that really stands out is his ability to kind of play the quiet moments when he's kind of angry and upset, and he'll really build that. He won't say much, but it's the way that he acts and the way that his facial expressions come across on screen. He'll really let it simmer, and then it'll come to a point where he'll just blow up, and he'll just absolutely nail that scene. There's a couple in this movie, there's a couple in the first two, that he just does perfectly, and I think that's really an example of how good he is as an actor. I also really liked and enjoyed the interactions between Michael and Kay. Pretty much any interaction that Michael's character had with another secondary character I enjoyed, but because we've seen Kay kind of grow and develop throughout these films, it's good to see them both kind of reminisce on the times that they've had and some of the experiences that they've shared together. And I think that they are able to kind of come together and kind of bring back those feelings that they've had, and they do it in a really nice way. I do also like that the events of the previous films have their repercussions, as that is dealt with in this film, and how Michael is able to react to those events and how they've kind of given him the trauma, I think is realistic, because he's done so many bad things, but also he's done a lot of good things. So obviously there's that moral dilemma in his head. Should I do this? Should I do that? Should I help my family? Or should I help the business? It's a really good contemplation between his character and doing the right thing or doing the thing that people tell him to, people that he trusts. So I really liked how that's played out. He knows he's made mistakes, and ultimately he wants to atone for those mistakes, and he wants to set an example for his kids and for his family, and he wants to do the right thing, but sometimes doing the right thing comes at a price, because your actions have a price, and he definitely learns that in this film. The cinematography and the shots that are set up and created are, again, beautiful. Sicily, another highlight for me. Seeing that landscape again makes me want to go there. Obviously, that's not possible right now with the pandemic that's going on, but I hope someday I get to go and visit Italy, because some of these places are absolutely beautiful. And bravo to Francis Ford Coppola, who was able to illuminate that yet again. Now let's get into some of the things that I wasn't too big a fan of. And for starters, it is the first act of this film. The first act is slow, and there's not too much going on. It takes a while for things to build and ramp up and kind of start in this movie. And while I think some of the introductions were needed, I think that they were drawn out, and I think that's a pacing problem and also a writing problem. The writing in this film wasn't as good as the first two. I really felt that there were some scenes of dialogue that were kind of awkward, especially between Sofia Coppola and Al Pacino. I credit that to more Sofia Coppola because I don't think she did the best job in this role, and that's another big problem I have. Sofia Coppola isn't great as Mary, and Mary's character is pretty important in this film, and the audience has to care about her character because her relationship with Michael and Vinny, as I talked about, is important, and you want to side with her, you want to relate to her, but I think there were times where she kind of was flat in her delivery and her emotion, and that really didn't help this movie overall. Personally, I wasn't a big fan of Talia Shire's performance as Connie. I think in the first two, her character is dialed down, which I think is for the better. While I think she does the best with what she has in those films, I don't think that her character was handled the best in Part 3 because I think she plays it a little too over the top. Whereas compared to Sofia Coppola, who I think's underperforming, I think Talia Shire is kind of playing it up too much and kind of too intense. I just think that her character is more important than she should be. And I also think that that's a factor of not having Robert Duvall and not having James Caan or Marlon Brando or De Niro. You're not having these actors, these talented actors, because, their characters aren't in the films anymore. And I do think that that was a big reason why Talia Shire had a boost in her character involvement. And I think that that was a big misstep. I really would have loved to see Robert Duvall as Tom Hagen again. I really enjoyed his performances in the first two as kind of the guy that would kind of help everyone out and just do everything that needed to be done. And I think he didn't get enough recognition for his performance because he was a character that I really liked. And I don't think I've talked about that enough in the first two reviews. I really didn't highlight his performance, so I think it definitely shows that his presence as an actor was missed in this film because his character kind of really left an impact on me, and that void needed to be filled. So obviously Talia Shire was slotted into that kind of role as the character that would fill that big presence, and I don't think that she is able to succeed in that job. Overall, while I do think this movie has some problems with pacing and some certain characters and even some writing issues, I think the first half, again, is a little slow getting to that point in the movie where things start to pick up. And once they pick up, they get really good. And I was invested. I think this movie is important to watch. It does round out the trilogy and is able to bring things from all the films together and kind of have those moments of reflection. And I think that Francis Ford Coppola does a good job with this film, but compared to the first two installments, this one is a little below them. I'm going to give The Godfather Part 3 a 3.8 out of 5. Again, I would certainly recommend watching this to finish off the trilogy, but it is a marathon, not a sprint. It's a long watch, and you really got to be ready for it. I now have that bug. I have that infectious ability to want to watch all these movies, and I have so many to get to, so we're going to start pumping out content. We're going to start pumping out reviews really soon here. We're going to get to a couple videos a week. I will keep you all updated, and for that, I want to thank you all for coming on this little adventure with me during the Godfather trilogy. More stuff coming as always, and I can't wait for you all to experience it with me.